From the early days of book production in Nigeria, dating back to 1846, when Christian missionaries Reverend Hope Waddell and Samuel Edgley laid the foundation for book production in their old Calabar Mission House, the first two Christian books, with Gutenberg's printing press, a movable type arranged over a flat wooden plate called the lower platen, to the modern day of book production with a state-of-art printing equipment. The early efforts by these missionaries were built on by indigenous printers, multinational book publishers, governments, and university presses, and that laid the foundations for today's thriving book industry in Nigeria. From the early days of book production in the eventual innovation we have in the industry, whatever the transitions are, the sector has continued to grow due to its viability. The innovations experienced in the book production sector has forced the old letterpress ways of book production to the backseat, and thereby providing international standard capacity with state-of-art equipment and most professional standard of business execution in the sector by the key players in Nigeria.
Now, the Chartered Institute of Professional Printers of Nigeria last week criticized what it calls the monopoly being enjoyed by foreign printers operating in Nigeria, which has made it almost impossible for Nigerians to freely import paper into the country. President and Chairman and Counsel of the Institute, Olugbemi Malomo, who holds the view that the ease of doing business in the country has allowed foreigners to come unhindered to retail level, thereby denying the industry opportunity to build capacity. Now, joining us to further explore this matter is the Counsel in Chief. Want to say good afternoon to you and thank you for joining us here on Newsday.
Good afternoon. Thank you for having me.
And this loss of job certainly will be more striking, especially in this COVID-ravaged economy. Try to explain to Nigerians what is really going on in the printing sector.
Thank you very much. I think the first thing is to put the whole thing in the right perspective. We're talking about paper. Paper in Nigeria today, we use about 3 million tons of paper annually. If you put that in Naira and Kobo, that's about 3 trillion Naira. Now, the importance of that will come out when you compare it to our budget. That's over 20% of our budget. Now, all this has been imported into Nigeria. Now, what we're saying is that recently, because of COVID, there was a disruption in paper importation, and the prices of paper quadrupled in Nigeria, and that will become noticeable, particularly when students resume in September. Many parents will not be able to afford books. It's as simple as that. So that's why we're saying that we need to urgently do something to ensure that this situation is arrested.
Okay. It will be interesting. A lot of Nigerians will be surprised to learn that we contract out a lot of our printing jobs, even the printing of ballot papers, I read. But still, as you started talking about the shortage of paper, how does this importing of paper affect the monopoly you speak of?
Yeah, the major raw material of printers are paper. That's one. It's not only when you import paper. We have government policies that are outdated, and a lot of people take advantage of that to get things done outside Nigeria. The resultant effect of that is what we're experiencing in the country right now. When people are not employed, they take to arms. We have insecurity. So basically, printing is one of the largest employer of labor in Nigeria. For every 10 Nigeria, I think there is one person benefiting from the value chain of printing. Now, when they are being deprived of daily income and daily job, daily earning, the next thing they do is they go into banditry and all that. So at the moment right now, paper importation and printing of books are being done outside Nigeria. We print about 1.2 billion books in a year. 1.2 billion, that's very massive. Now all this book, foreigner comes to the shore of Nigeria to canvass for this book to be printed abroad. And government policy are obviously outdated, and it's not stopping them. And the more this continues, the more we are going to continue to have problem in Nigeria.
All right, we know that the presidency has been pushing for massive ease of doing business, but you are saying that it has been counterproductive to this particular industry. Explain that to us and what can be done to ensure that this tide changes.
Thank you very much. Massive ease of doing business doesn't mean we should not protect our local economy. All over the world, I can't go abroad and do whatever I like. And that is what is happening here. I think that we are looking for easy way out of solving our collective problem. And it's not going to work. You can't say you are solving a problem and at the same time you are creating other problems. So if we're going to talk about ease of doing business, let people that want to come to Nigeria, let them go to the sea, IC, to go and fish. Leave the shore, leave the retail market for the indigent. That is what is done in every developed world. And, government tends to pay attention to things that benefit the elites. And that's why they leave the low level out of this. And that's what has taken us to this, to the problem we're having in Nigeria right now. We need to begin to address the root cause. I know government is overwhelmed with so many things, but there are root causes of all these things, and we're not addressing those root causes.
Okay, let me just get you right. Mr. Olugbemi, are you saying that when it comes to ease of doing business, government favors people coming from outside, and yet we hear of our own entrepreneurs complaining of multiple taxation, so they're not being eased in that respect? Is that what you're saying?
Exactly, that's what I'm saying. For instance now, they come from their own home country, they were giving resources, even when they are bringing stuff, they have as much as 150 days credit. Even to our people locally, they can say, oh, come, I'll print for you, and I'll give you 150 days credit to pay. We cannot do that here in Nigeria. That's one. We can't compete with them on that front. On the second front also, when it comes to the issue of paper, for instance, when we bring in raw paper to Nigeria, we pay up to 20%. When they are bringing in their printed material into Nigeria, they don't pay duty. So how are we supposed to survive?
All right, Mr. Malomo, there are talks for those that have dabbled into printing and the likes. Some hold, maybe it's erroneous or not, some hold the perspective that it's cheaper to print abroad, and also quality of printing abroad sometimes is relatively higher than qualities printed in Nigeria. Is this true?
Okay, I think I can as well say that it's cheaper to live abroad. It's cheaper to have governance abroad. Cost of running business abroad is cheaper. Why can't we all just go to abroad and forget about the entity called Nigeria? So for every action, there's a resultant effect. Yeah, it's cheaper to print abroad. Why? Because of government policy that are outdated. So we need to have an holistic view about all this issue. It's easy. We can't keep taking the easy way out. It's cheaper to print abroad, but when you print abroad, you are depriving locals of capacity development. When capacity are not developed, you are creating poverty. When you have poverty, you are going to have insecurity.
Okay. Let's look to the solution. I know my colleague asked this. I'm emphasizing it again. What can be done to redress this balance? I know you also mentioned the issue of regulations. How can regulations be used when you talk of an outdated policy? What needs to be put in the policy to update it?
Thank you very much. I think basically regulation can create an equilibrium. We are not saying foreigners, fantastic, we have a lot of foreigners that print in Nigeria, that have their businesses in Nigeria, they employ Nigeria, they're contributing to the economy of Nigeria. We don't have too much problem with those people. But what we are saying now is that, for instance, let's regulate this industry. Yeah, we are a regulator, we have a charter status. That charter status needs to be empowered by policies of government. For instance, UBEC, University Basic Education, doesn't give printing job to printers. They give it to publishers. Now the publisher takes it abroad, and we are clamoring, let's do a tripartite agreement between government, between publisher, between the printers, so that we can create local capacity. Let me give you an instance. In 1977, we had Festac 77. And because we wanted to host Festac, government could have taken the easy way out to rent hotels. They didn't. They used their huge resources to create a city called Festac today. So if we keep going out and taking our stuff outside to do, we are going to kill this country. So what we are saying is that let government begin to use our huge resources to build our economy and our industry. Not only that, it's been in the news several times. When you look at government procurement system of printing, government procurement system in printing, it's been on the news severally. You will see people quoting ridiculous amount of money for things that are not supposed to be. It's just that's the reason, because we don't have regulation, because people like UBEC, people like a Bureau of Public Procurement are not listening to us. We've reached out to them. Look, let's work together to save this country, to save this economy. At least Nigeria belongs to all of us. It's not only to the elites. And we've reached out to them, but they are not responding. Maybe we should look at the way of litigation.
All right. Permit me to now push it. Okay, we actually run out of time. I want to say many thanks to you today, Mr. Olugbemi Malomo, talking about the president and the chairman and council of the Institute of Professional Printers of Nigeria.
One would ask if book producers can provide capacity for reinvention. Yes, key players in the industry can successfully provide services and solutions beyond traditional books and journals production, as you can see from this documentary. How much of a market exists? Nigeria has the population of 211,746,692 based on the projections of the latest United Nations data and annually produce an average of 1.2 billion books. But unfortunately, a very high percentage of such books are printed abroad. The moribund 70-years-old UNESCO agreement on the importation of educational, scientific, and cultural materials, also known as the Florence Agreement, can be attributed as one of the reasons why such printing takes place abroad, and also the claim that it is cheaper to print abroad than locally as reason for developing capacity of other countries at the detriment of our local capacity. The prevailing situation when the Florence Agreement of 70 years ago was reached are completely different to what we have now. It is also not an agreement in perpetuity. The fact remains that it is cheaper to print outside Nigeria at the moment. The raw materials for book, that is paper, attracts an import duty of up to 25%, while importation of books classified as educational material attracts 0% duty. Lopsided government policy.
So, at the moment right now, paper importation and printing of books are being done outside Nigeria. We print about 1.2 billion books in a year. 1.2 billion, that's very massive. Now, all this book, foreigner comes to the shore of Nigeria to canvass for this book to be printed abroad. And government policy are obviously outdated, and it's not stopping them. And the more this continues, the more we are going to continue to have problem in Nigeria.
The price we pay. Due to the underperformance of the 3 paper mills in the country, Nigeria depends on importation to meet the paper needs of its growing population, thereby making book production business difficult and more expensive to execute. Severally, the Chartered Institute of Professional Printers of Nigeria, CIPPON, through media releases in national newspapers, television, and radio programs, have constantly sought for government support towards paper challenge, which is a major raw material in book production, and our advocacy calls have gradually yielded results. Nigeria has the population and market size and open to investment. The book production aspect of the print value chain beams its searchlight of the huge opportunities and potentials yet untapped in this sector. The challenges of being on the queue for weeks to months just to buy papers overseas is costing the industry trillion-dollar investment opportunities. Averagely, an estimation of about 3 trillion naira is expended on the importation of different forms of papers annually, and that excludes a large percentage of the production cost that goes abroad. The government to take stringent actions such as restricting importation as it has done in some sectors, local capacities development must take the front seat. The emergence of COVID-19 pandemic was a rude shock to us and our businesses. It changed the priority from how to create jobs to how to sustain existing ones. The lesson from the pandemic is the solution to our collective survival in the event of any pandemic. Looking at the current situation on book production, government is the highest buyer through her agencies, Universal Basic Education Council, UBEC. Currently, most of our capacities are unutilized due to lack of jobs. CIPPON's position. The book industry is worth an estimated 500 billion naira annually. If all the books are printed in Nigeria, it is capable of employing more than 200,000 people annually. What CIPPON has done: 1. Organize a first and second national conference in conjunction with Ministry of Trade and Investment and Ogun State Government. 2. Produced a 52-page post-conference report preferring solution to local paper production. 3. Engage Ministry of Trade and Investment on the need to include printing as government backward integration policy. Current situation of paper. Over 3 million tons of paper, both in finished goods and raw paper, worth about ₦1 trillion, are imported into the country annually, representing huge foreign exchange drain pressure on the naira. In the 70s and 80s, the implementation of the federal government's import substitution policy and increased demand for paper and paper products brought about government's decision expand its industry base to include pulp and paper, and therefore established 3 paper mills. 1. Nigeria National Paper Manufacturing Company Limited, Iwogbin, Ogun State, for production of bond paper. Nigeria Paper Mills, Jeba, Kwara State, to produce graft paper. Nigeria Newsprint Manufacturing Company Limited, Olu, Ibokoin, Akwa Ibom State, to produce newsprint. The mills were established to bring down the cost of production of books, produce newsprint and craft paper, and curb importation of paper. Currently, the paper mills suffer neglect and sell off not for the purpose of producing any meaningful paper production. Over 2 million metric tons of paper, worth over ₦1 trillion, are imported annually on raw paper and paper in the form of finished goods into Nigeria annually. High cost of importation of paper reduce the combined volume of all newspaper produced in Nigeria. This documentary is brought to you by Chartered Institute of Professional Printers of Nigeria. Produced by DCS Integrated Media. Written by Juliet Unajiofo Uyi.